So this is going to be the build of the Classic Revision 6. So this is using the Nixie firmware version 2 and it's an update of the Classic Revision 5. It's got a lot of extra features. It's got an ESP8266 interface here, so you can have Wi-Fi connected. It's got a buck converter for efficiency, and it's got outputs for neopixels and a PIR input. So it's the latest version of this driver, and this is the build of it. So the components we're going to need for this are a coil L2, which is 33 microhenries. This will either be a little tiny SMD component or a more traditional through-hole component. I'm going to use the SMD component because it's more tricky to solder, and I can show you that. We're going to use a UF4007, a 100 nanofarad capacitor, two 220 microfarad electrolytics, a 1N5819, a 3K resistor, a red indicator LED, an LM2596 buck converter, and the input. I always prefer to start with the inductor, the 33 microhenry inductor, because it's relatively tricky to install. There's a bit of a knack to it, and I'll show you that knack. So first of all, let's get the little guy out of his packet. So there we go. There's our little chap. You'll find it's best to have a pair of tweezers for this kind of work. Of course, through hole is easier. So, and we're going to put this little tiny chap in his position over these sockets here. So it's not a high power component, it's relatively low power. And I'm going to be using some thin solder for this. So the first thing is wet one of the pads. Let's give my iron a bit of a clean. It's not okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this chap, and you notice there are two silvered contacts. So we're going to take him and we're going to wet this pad. I'm going to solder him on like that. Once he's on, we can get in from the other side and solder the other pad. Okay, and I'll just go back and wet the first pad again. It's a bit tricky. Okay, so now we can install D1, and you'll see that D1 has a white stripe on the board, and what we have to do is we have to match up the components, white stripe and the white stripe on the board. This soldering iron is not working well today. Doesn't seem to be able to transfer the heat properly. Okay. Just bumped it up a little bit. So let's trim off the excess and make sure you keep these bits out of the way. So now we're going to put in C2, and which is the 100 nanofarad capacitor. C2 goes there. We just splay the leads out a little bit to stop it running away. And trim up. Now the electrolytics, C4 and C9. The white stripe here goes on the white stripe on the board. And again, the white stripe matches to the white stripe. I get the feeling this soldering iron bit has had it. It really does not seem to be able to get the heat properly into the components. Let's try a different solder for a second. Better. Very unusual. Okay, trim up. Get rid of the off cuttings. Now this is the 5N819, 1N5819, and this is D3. And this actually goes across here like this. You can just see the square pad there. And the square pad is where the side with the stripe goes. Okay, trim up. So now we're going to put the LED circuit in. So this is R8, LED 1, R8 is here. So put the body where the body is marked. Straighten it up. Okay. Now the LED. Now the LED has a flat side and a shorter lead. And we have to match up the flat side on the LED, which is the shorter lead, with the flat side on the board. leave a little bit of space. I don't like to put them too close to the board, so I'll leave a little bit of space. Okay, 1, 2. Now the LM2596, the metal tab goes as the metal tab is marked on the board. Now there's a bit of a trick to do this because the leads are quite close together. So I actually do it like this. I put in one lead first of all. And then with my side cutters, I crop the rest off quite close, but not flush to the board. And then this makes it very much easier to go back and solder the other pads. Okay, that looks fine. And last but not least, the jack. So, to hold this guy in, I'm just going to pop a piece of tape over while I solder. And we'll solder one pad. And then we'll just squash him in with our finger when we wet it, and then he's gone in flat. Did you hear it click? That was him moving flush to the board. And we should be good. Just going to go back and flash that pad on the inductor again. There's something not right with this soldering iron. I'm going to stop after this and change the tip. I think the tip is worn out. Okay, let us see. So here I have some voltage. That looks good. Let us measure the voltage at the test pads. So, my little meter. So the test pads are ground and VCC. So ground and VCC, and we're expecting 5 volts. Oops. What do we get? 4.989. Don't know if you can see that. 4.989. That's cool.